Okay, I want to try something new for Substack and see how it works. So very often when I have a webinar with my students, they'll ask a question and I'll answer the question as best as I can, and I always try to make sure the student is satisfied. But very often I'll get off track. My ADHD brain will then turn into a rant, and I always feel a little bit bad, except that for years students have told me that they like my ranting. So let's maybe try it here. Like specifically, I'm not, in a webinar, I'm not trying to answer questions. I'm just gonna pick a topic and try to point my ADHD brain at it and rant a little bit. I've got some coffee in my favorite mug from my old vet in Florida, and I'm sitting here underneath my grapevine, and the grapes are looking pretty good. I think they'll be ready soon. And I want to just talk or rant about online teaching, specifically with Qigong and Tai Chi. It's 2025, and I can't believe this, but we are still hearing Qigong and Tai Chi teachers say that you cannot learn Qigong and Tai Chi online. And it's just nonsense. A little background, I have been teaching online since 2013. So almost 12 years now that I've been teaching online. And for those who don't know, I had a brick and mortar Qigong and Tai Chi studio for a decade. So think like a yoga studio, very similar, except Qigong and Tai Chi. And that was, 100% offline, right? So I know what it's like to teach offline. I taught in that studio. I taught thousands of classes in that studio to thousands of students over the course of a decade. And when I went online in 2013, I was very cautious. And I was cautious at first also because at the time I was still with my ex-teacher, and he was one of these teachers that really was like, oh, you can't teach this stuff online. And I was still underneath him, so I had to kind of, maneuver a little bit. But then after I left him in 2014 over a sexual abuse scandal, which I blew the whistle for, I said, well, let me reassess this. Like, obviously, he's wrong about a lot of things in life. He's right about a lot of things in Qigong, but boy, is he wrong about a few things. So maybe he's wrong about this online learning stuff. So let me experiment. So I just started basically experimenting systematically. And the results were so good. And when I say results, I'm talking about the results in my students. The results were so good that by 2016, I decided to close my brick and mortar studio. Now that was a complicated decision. It was complicated because running a business like that is a real challenge. There's a lot of moving parts in it. And at the time I was sharing the space with my now ex-wife. We were still married at the time, but it was becoming a burden, and it was looking like I was going to be able to teach effectively online. And then, I was also planning to do lots of workshops, still teach in person as well. But very quickly, I got swept away with the online teaching. There was so much demand from so many countries. Zoom ahead to today, and I have students, Substack says that I have readers in 77 countries. And last time I counted for my online programs, it was like 60 something. But I mean, regardless of the number, that's incredible, right? That's, I've got students all over the world, and what they tell me over and over again is that they cannot find a good teacher near them. So isn't that precisely what the internet is for? So very often what you will see out there with these teachers who are saying, oh, you can't learn this online, it's just gatekeeping. And specifically, they're trying to protect their revenue. Now, I do empathize with how hard it is to make a living from these arts, so I get that part. But, the student has to come first. That just has to be like your operating system or your compass. The student has to come first, and you have to make decisions based on what's best for the student. Here's what I can tell you honestly. After over a decade of teaching online and also a decade of teaching in person, the results in students, I'm talking about the students, the benefits that students get from practicing Qigong and Tai Chi. If you compare the results of purely offline students to purely online students, they are at the very least, and I emphasize the word least here, at the very least, the results are equal. There are some things that are slightly easier in person, and there are other things that are slightly easier online. And some of that also depends on the student and how they learn. So if you've got social anxiety, or if you're neurodivergent or something like that, or if you're immunocompromised and you're still protecting yourself from COVID, for example, then online learning is obviously going to be better for you. And then some people obviously will do a little bit better with offline learning. And there are advantages and disadvantages to both. There are some definite benefits to learning in person, but we're splitting hairs here. And the truth is that both methods work. You can learn Qigong and Tai Chi offline, in person. That's how I learned it, right? You can also learn it online. That's how thousands, I don't even know at this point, it's hard to count, but at least 15,000 students have learned online from me in some capacity. I'm talking about a course, not blogging or through my book or something like that. I'm talking about some sort of course online, at least 15,000, and at least 3,000 of those are somewhat serious. Like they've been through year-long programs with me in some capacity. Some of them have been with me for many, many years. So I'll say it again, the results online and offline are effectively equal. But even 12 years in to teaching online, I'm still discovering new benefits to online teaching, and I'll give you a recent example. Last year, I launched my Qigong 301 program for the first time. We had done a beta before that, but this is the first year-long program for the Qigong 301, and it was a systematic year-long advanced program in Qigong and Neigong, and it's still going on. And what I've found through this program is that I'm able to teach better. I'm sort of surprised at how much better it is. And I'll explain why, because we're going through systematically through a lot of advanced practices. We're dealing things like the small universe, Xiaojiutian, and the large universe, and two-finger shooting Zen, and cosmic shower, and bone marrow washing, Shi Sui Jing. So we're dealing with all these advanced skills over the course of a year. I've taught all these before. I taught all of these techniques in my studio. But now what's happening is something different. It's so systematic online that it frees me as a teacher, and it makes the learning experience better for students. So for example, in my studio, you can imagine, students were on a monthly pass. They just pay by the month and get unlimited classes. And the good students would come to maybe 5 classes a month. 5 classes a week. But life happens, so they miss a class, or their schedule changes, they go on vacation and maybe pause their membership, life happens. So over the course of a year, it's not like I could be sure that they would get all that material. And then what if they miss an important class, like a key class in the small universe, or 3 key classes? They're gonna have to wait until I teach it again, right? With online, it's all systematic, right? You might miss something, right? That's totally understandable, but the material is there for them to go get it. And they might jump ahead in the program. If they've missed a couple weeks, they might join us wherever we are in the program, because my programs are semi-live. There's recorded content, but also live content. But that the structure, the foundation of what they might be missing is there, and they know they can go get it later, or they can go get it next year. They might retake the program the following year. That's another benefit that I've noticed, and this is kind of a big one, in that the repeat of the program is something special. So in the past, when I was teaching in the studio, they would repeat the material, but I was different. Right? So I was maybe teaching it a little bit differently. It might be a year later. So it wasn't quite clear that the content was the same. Now the material is there. Some of the recorded material will remain unchanged. I might improve it a couple of years later, but the content is basically the same. So what they realize there is that they've changed. And this is huge. Their skill has changed over the course of a year. They have improved, they have changed, and that's what's different, and they can see that clearly. They realize this content is the same, but in my second lap through it, something has shifted. And I have this skill, and I'm able to appreciate it more. This should happen with any good, education program is that if you revisit even the same material, you read a book twice, for example, it's a different experience the second time around, and that's because you've changed. Now with online learning, this is clear to students. They're clear, oh, I've taken this program for a second time, even a third time, and it's better every time. Why is it better every time? The program itself has barely changed, so what's changed? I've changed. And that realization for students is huge. So that's just one of many examples. Obviously, I could go on and on about the many benefits of online learning, but I really believe strongly that students need to advocate for themselves and what's best for them. And unfortunately, in the world of Qigong and Tai Chi, teachers out there don't always advocate for you. That's just an unfortunate truth out there. So if you are clear about advocating for yourself and getting what's best for yourself, then you don't even have to take my word for it. You just can try to learn Qigong online. Obviously, I'd love it if you learn from me, but you don't need to learn from me. Learn from somebody who's a good teacher, has a good online program, a good understanding of how to use online tools, and see, are you able to learn Qigong and get benefits from it? And if so, then you can just dismiss the bullshit out there if teachers are saying, oh, you just can't learn it online. It's just not true. I mean, even to the point now where I'm teaching some of the most advanced skills that exist in Qigong, I'm doing it online, I'm doing it successfully, and honestly, I'm thrilled with the results of the program. I just can't believe, honestly, these students are getting it better than I did. So on some level, these students learning these advanced skills online are learning them more efficiently than I did going to Asia and learning it in person from a Chinese grandmaster. I'm happy about that. I'm not bitter at all. I'm happy that students can get this. But anyway, if a teacher says you cannot learn this stuff online, just kind of maybe keep your mouth shut, but internally advocate for yourself and do what is best for you.